Первая часть, она у нас очная, и доклады мы будем заслушивать с вами здесь. А вторая у нас часть, которая начнется после обеда, это панельная дискуссия. Светлана Юрьевна, следующий слайд, я хотела бы на ней отдельно обратить внимание. Эти коллеги у нас зарубежные, они у нас все будут через онлайн, через систему Zoom. И я бы хотела их вам чуть-чуть представить, чтобы мы с вами их тоже знали. Виталий Анатольевич Kopnov, следующий слайд, это профессор, доктор технических наук, он советник ректора РГПУ. Он будет уже модерировать эту панельную дискуссию, а те коллеги, которые мы с вами здесь останемся, мы уже будем смотреть, слушать и задавать уже вопросы по тому докладу, как у них там будет выстроено. Первый участник – это профессор Hauenstein, он президент Международного совета по образованию и менеджменту, Ассоциации швейцарской квалификации, компетенции, качества, Института компетенции и квалификации. Также он член международной сети аккредитации, и он приглашенный профессор в колледже Warnborough и в Швейцарии, и его приглашают в Восточную Европу, Великобританию, где он именно рассказывает тоже в том числе про непрерывность образования, тренды цифровизации. Мы с ним познакомились в рамках международного проекта, который Институт непрерывного образования участвует. Это программа Prof у нас называется, которая ориентирована на подготовку преподавателей СПО. Второй участник – это Julian. Это вице-президент Warnborough колледжа в Ирландии, генеральный директор Warnborough тоже группы и президент ИБЕТа. Также он у нас является участником консорциума международного проекта Prof. Мы обсуждаем, где вот эти вот вопросы повышения квалификации, переподготовки. И вот у нас, я в последнем слайде скажу, что создана лаборатория цифрового образования. Вот мы как раз-таки вместе с ним вот эту вот концепцию построения видеоматериала для преподавателей, как раз с ним тоже это обсуждали. Следующий, это у нас Патрик Morevs, это Латвия. Он начальник управления международного отдела в Liepajaском университете. Он с РГПУ связан у нас по проекту, который у нас завершился. Это VET, где мы учили педагогов СПО по перезачету, вообще как сделать зачетные единицы, как делать в рабочих программах зачетные единицы. Следующий старший преподаватель Финляндии, колледж университет называется прикладных наук, Юля. Это Eila. Она участник тоже международного проекта Prof. Следующий участник у нас Франк де Jong, это у нас Нидерланды, университет прикладных наук Wageningen, но тоже очень деятельный, интересный профессор, где очень много идей связано с цифровизацией в СПО. Уважаемые коллеги, вот эта вот панельная дискуссия будет вестись только на английском языке и без переводчика. А он сам выключает уже.
Hello, Vitaly.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm very glad to see you.
You too.
Okay, dear colleagues, I'm happy to see all of you. I'd like to remind you that my name is Vitaly Kopnov. I am an advisor at the Russian State Vocational Pedagogical University, and I will work today as a moderator of our panel discussion. Now we all are at the 4th International Conference, Lifelong Learning, Theory and then Practice of Implementation. I am grateful to the platform Leader ID for supporting our panel discussion. I'd like to thank also the Institute for Lifelong Learning of the Russian State Vocational Pedagogical University for the invitation to organize this panel discussion on lifelong learning, and just from the point of view of vocational education and training. Also, I'm incredibly grateful to the Erasmus Plus program and our ProVET project, co-funded by this program. ProVET project is devoted to the professional development of vocational education teachers with European practices in Russia and Serbia. Please note that we will use here the acronym VET, which means Vocational Education and Training, and it is not about veterinary, which is often confused with. I'm very pleased now to open our panel discussion, Vocational Education and Training Educators, VET Educators on Lifelong Learning. Dear participants, you may raise your hands with the tool on the bottom of the screen or write questions using Zoom chat. I think that's better to watch all presentation, and after this we open the discussion. Please, when you'll be watching and listening, prepare your questions, and after finishing all presentations, we forward these questions to our panelists personally, or to all of them. And at first, I'd like to introduce and feature out our prominent speakers from European countries. First, Professor Urs Hauenstein, President of the International Council for Education and Management, the Association of Swiss Quality Competences Qualifications, the Institute of Competences and Qualifications, and the International Network for Accreditation, Recognition and Dissemination, Switzerland. Dr. Julian Jong, Vice President of Warnborough College, Ireland, Chief Executive Officer of the Warnborough Worldwide Group, and President-elect of IVETA, International Vocational Education and Training Association, Ireland. Dr. Patriks Morevs, Head of International Office, Liepaja University, Latvia. Dr. Eila Burns, Senior Lecturer, Teacher Education, JAMK University of Applied Sciences, Finland. And Professor Frank de Jong, Aeres University of Applied Sciences, Wageningen, Netherlands. To start the discussion, let me say some words about lifelong learning in Russia. If we go to the history, we see that the first Russian educationalist, Vasily Vakhterev, who developed a theory of adult education in 1896 and 1924, he presumed that only under integrated lifelong learning provision by Sunday schools, knowledge update courses and public libraries, there could be ensured a wide range of educational activities for all individuals. The starting point of lifelong learning research, even in Russia, was the works of British scholars in the first quarter of the 20th century, drawing on the compensatory character of adult learning and on its contribution to knowledge update. Later, in the late 50s of the previous century, 20th century, lifelong learning was perceived to organically combine vocational and general education whilst including self-education as well. The major development in lifelong learning in the early 21st century were defined largely by Russia's accession to the Bologna process in 2003, as well as by trends in the socio-economic progress of our country. Russia's participation in the Bologna process has been like a catalyst for the modernization and reform of the Russian education system. In general, the interaction with European universities with the framework of creating a common scientific educational space has greatly contributed to maximizing the potential of innovation development in my country. As far as informal education is concerned, Russian researchers tend to consider it as a socially oriented, dynamic, open, mobile element of the system of professional and personal development that may largely responsive to the needs of adults. It may act as an independent and/or additional form to formal education, catering from compensatory educational provision. Now, we are pleased to welcome you at our fourth conference on lifelong learning, and particularly here at the panel discussion with our European partners. And now, I'm completing my speech, and I would like now to invite Professor Hauenstein to take the floor. Upskilling and reskilling in times of disruption. So, Professor Sears, your presentation.
Hello, I will share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good. So I'm very happy to speak about upskilling and reskilling in times of disruption. There are some funny stories in the world, and all of them say we have a big problem in the future. Disruption is eating our jobs. But the fact is, we will have a change of jobs. So that means disruption and pandemic, we change our jobs. And therefore it is important to speak about upskilling and reskilling. Let's go to the next slide. Yes. Oh, sorry. It was too quick. Today, we have a very special situation. Today, the World Economic Forum is launching the official report of Jobs of Tomorrow, mapping opportunity in the new economy. And today, the World Economic Forum is launching the so-called reskillingrevolution.org. That means hashtag upskilling, hashtag reskilling, hashtag lifelong learning. So you have made and arranged the meeting at the just correct day, because now the world is starting today with looking to this. I want to show you a video from last year from the World Economic Forum and want to start with this. Please increase the volume on your device that you can hear the tone, the audio of the video. Now it's going.
Oh, yeah, it's going.
So we hope if everything is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Very sorry.
No. It is our problem.
Okay, now the video should start. So you have seen before, that is disruption. That was a test of disruption, and you can see that can happen everybody immediately. So let's have a look to the definitions of upskilling and reskilling, who are totally new. Upskilling means learning new competencies to stay in current roles due to the change in skills required, or adding certain competencies for career progression. And reskilling means, in the name of World Economic Forum and Boston Consulting Group, learning new sets of competencies to transition to completely new roles. So we are living in a world in times of disruption. And we all know now the pandemic, COVID-19, of course, but we can remember that it started before with another big disruption, with the progress of automation, of digitization. But when we look a little bit more clear to the world, then we see, there were hundreds of other disruptions already in our world. Wars, tsunamis, refugee surge, floods, fires, earthquakes, recessions. You can see that on that screen. So it's like an iceberg with disruptions, and an iceberg means we have as well unconsciousness disruptions who are not yet clear, but may be coming soon. We are speaking about learning outcomes, knowledge, skills, talents, aptitudes, abilities, competences, competencies, and qualifications. And many professions cannot survive because of digitization and the pandemic. So that is a chance for us in upskilling and reskilling. You can see here a Caucasian carpenter working on his laptop and thinking about his future because he has less jobs to do. So the components of a job are, on the one hand, the work activities. When we are looking to the aptitudes, a totally new used term in the world, then we have the knowledge in, we have the skills in, and the skills are on cross-functional skills and specialized skills divided, and we have the abilities. And then we are getting experience. The 10 global work preferences of employees are good relationship with colleagues, good work-life balance, good relationship with superior, learning and training opportunities, career development options, financial stability of the employer, job security, financial compensation, work being appreciated, and of course an interesting work. So there are many needs of staff, of employees. But what should employees have in skills for the future? You see here from last year in a survey, the outcomes of the World Economic Forum of the top 15 skills for 2025. Analytical thinking and innovation, we know that. Active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, originality and initiative, leadership and social influence, that's very important. technology use, monitoring and control, the technology design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, reasoning, problem solving, emotional intelligence, troubleshooting, service orientation, system analysis and evaluation, and persuasion and negotiation. So the old-fashioned skills are far away, and there are new skills on the sets for the future. Who needs upskilling? Of course, of us all, and for some as well, for the new jobs, a reskilling. Planned business adaptation at COVID-19. You can have a look to this chart, and then I will go to the next to save some time. Future workforce strategies of industries. You can see the workforces and the industries has to adapt. That means the companies had to change and had to adapt their activities. And you think, who is paying this upskilling and reskilling? It will be shared between companies and governments, states, nations. But the most of the payment will maybe be paid by the companies. And you see how technology is likely adopted by 2025. But you can see these are all these new items and fields of IT, ICT, and of data development for having a successful digitization process. So now and in the near future and in the future, we can see there will be a remote and hybrid work. But everything what is going ahead, we all know that this will be a holistic development in lifelong learning. Therefore, the presentation of Dr. Julian is very important, because this is the key of everything for the future and in this world, worldwide. When you want to see, academics want to see facts and figures, please go on to the publications from the European Union, CEDEFOP, the Agency for Professional Work and Vocational Work. They have given out last year a volume 1 and a volume 2 about empowering adults through upskilling and reskilling pathways. Incredible studies, incredible papers. It is a must, I think, for us all. And today there is a new report from the World Economic Forum coming out. Next week will be the World Economic Forum 2021 online, and you will find there many new ideas for the future and for the future development and for the strategies. And by the way, UK is not anymore Europe. Yesterday, the UK government has published a new big skills report. Very good. I read it through the night. Very good. So let us give me to the end a unique video who was produced by the World Economic Forum and their partners, LinkedIn, and many big companies in the world, and many national and governmental leaders and stakeholders. And you can see this double pandemic situation at the moment, this double disruptive situation at the moment with the pandemic and with the digitization and everything, how maybe it can be developed. Many thanks, and please have a look to this really unique video.
Right now we're facing a crisis of international proportion. It's a healthcare crisis, but it's also an economic crisis. It's going to have long-term impact for us. And we're going to see that the biggest impact is actually going to be acceleration of inequality.
The systematic way that we have been built is not holding up. The foundation is cracking.
Our duties remain the same. The fact that we should not leave anybody behind again.
Many organizations have seen what the impact is of a sudden crisis and how we're able to better navigate this crisis today with the help of technology. And that means the reskilling and upskilling of your own workforce.
Jobs of tomorrow are technologically enabled, but also extremely human-centered. It's in the ability to work with technology easily.
On the other hand, with this new way of working and especially remote work, we see that there is a huge need of emotional intelligence.
We have really to invest a lot in people to guarantee their jobs, but also to allow them the mobility they need on an ever-changing labor market.
8 out of 10 of the young people who are in low and middle income countries are going to have to be entrepreneurs. They're going to have to make jobs for themselves.
Having creative curriculums and teaching creativity is enabling your learners to have transferable skills, resilience, mastery, collaboration, asking questions, why, how, when. This is what they need in order to thrive in any profession which they choose.
The moment you incorporate marginalized segments of society, it changes the product offering, it changes the way that we think about supply chains. When you cater to the margins, the positive externalities in economic terms are pretty enormous.
It is critical that leadership understand that the burden of responsibility of driving change starts at the top of the organization, so that corporations can give back to the communities, make them more resilient as we deal with these issues around both economic and racial inequality.
We need men and women leading the recovery, because there is no way we can ever think that a world that is led by men is a world that is good for everybody.
Now is the moment that we can think about how we use that possibility, the new ideas, the new technology, the new wealth, to really create social systems in which we can all flourish.
We have the greatest brains, talent, resources in the world. There's no reason that we can't, and no excuses that it's too hard or too complicated.
Yes, so to finalize, we are living in the fourth industrial revolution. We know that the digitization process is going ahead. We are as well disrupted by the pandemic situation, but we know that the whole development of the digitization is not the future of this world, is not the future of us. It is, how can I say, too much digital worlds, too much digitization and machine-oriented worlds. So it will come back to a fifth level, to a human-centered level, where humane developments are needed. And that means that we will have in the future many people who has to change from the technological field to the humane-oriented field, to social fields, to community fields. Many thanks, and very sorry again about the disruption.
I now have the pleasure of giving the screen to Dr. Julian. Once more about lifelong learning. Okay.
Dobro utro.
Oh.
Sorry, can you mute your microphone, Vitaly? Perfect. So, ja хочу поблагодарить за ваше гостеприимное приглашение. Для меня честь выступать здесь перед вами, но теперь я буду говорить по-английски. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful event today. And lots of thanks to Dr. Vitaly Kopnov for inviting me and arranging all of this. I'm here to follow on from my esteemed colleague, Dr. Aeres's presentation with this topic about lifelong learning. So what we're going to look at today are concepts of lifelong learning and the competencies versus the required skills, which were actually covered by Dr. Hauenstein earlier as listed by the World Economic Forum. And then I will give you some idea about how we put lifelong learning into practice at Warnborough College. So our first activity will require you to do a little bit of work. You're going to need to use your mobile phones or your browser, because I would like you to answer this question. What is the most important motivator in your mind for learning? So scan the barcode and you should automatically be able to go there, or in your browser, type in slido.com and enter this code 73637. And you should see this screen. What I would like you to do is to enter one keyword, or maybe a sentence, or well, not a sentence, but a phrase that you think is the most important motivator for somebody to learn. Why should I learn? What is going to motivate me? So just type in one word that you think is the most important. Are you all able to access this screen? So if people could start typing, say, a keyword like whatever it is that you think is the most important motivator for learning. You can enter as many words as you want. Well, we're seeing some new things happening now, which is great. Okay, so we're starting to see people choosing some keywords which they think are important. So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds more to type in whatever else, and then we can move on. Okay, so we can see that people have put down development, which is really interesting, development of self, which links a lot to lifelong learning and also results. That's all great, but if you think about yourself, what motivates you to learn? Is it because you want to do it yourself? Or is it because somebody tells you to? Or is it because of a different reason? So what is the real motivation behind your learning? So we're just going to move on to the next thing. Over the decades, we've been told that there are indicators of ability, and you see two famous ones there. The first one is IQ, which is the intellectual quotient, and EQ, which was mentioned in Dr. Hauenstein's WEF list earlier, which is emotional intelligence. So first it was like how clever you are, and then after that, maybe in the 60s and 70s, people said, oh, it's not just how clever you are, but how well you relate to other people. And they consider these to be indicators of ability. Well, I'm going to say that if we are to continue developing and generating learning effectively, we have to increase the most important motivation of all, and that is CQ. You have to be curious. So that is the curiosity quotient. If you are not curious about anything, you have no motivation to learn. And that's why in English we have the saying, curiosity killed the cat. See, if the cat wasn't curious, it wouldn't be killed. It just wanted to know what's going on. And if you want to know what is going on, that is the strongest and most powerful motivator for learning. So as a lot of you are educators, ask yourself, do your students have enough CQ? Do you encourage the CQ in your students? Okay, so let's look at children. You know, when children are young, we are always very happy when the children asks many questions. Then they go, mommy, what is this? Daddy, what is this? And then you say, oh, that's a very clever child. He's always asking questions, right? So they learn very quickly because they are like sponges. They absorb everything around them informally, formally in a school setting, as well as from experience. So for example, if you have a child, which you would normally say is naughty, and you say, don't touch the iron because it's hot, and they don't listen to you, this is what happens. They learn from experience very quickly, and in future, they won't touch that iron again. Now, let's look at adults and how we learn. We're still learning every day, informally and from experience. But in terms of formal learning, do we do it because we generally want to, or because we face external pressures? For example, maybe it's a direct order from your boss or your manager to say you have to learn. So then you go and sign up for a course and do it, okay? Or maybe you want to get a promotion and you think that by having an extra qualification or letters after your name, this will be helpful. So you are forced to do it for that purpose. Or maybe it's competition. You are trying to compete to be better than your colleagues. I don't know. But usually when you look at adults doing formal learning, it's because of an external excuse rather than an internal one. So in terms of learning, when we say this phrase, lifelong learning, LLL, what do we mean? Well, I'm actually quite happy to tell you that 27 countries, the European Union, have got together and actually decided to accept a recommendation on key competences for lifelong learning. And they say that you need it to have personal fulfillment, to have a healthy and sustainable lifestyle, to have good employability and become an active citizen within your own community, and to encourage inclusion in your society. Well, these are all very lofty goals, which is fine, but let's look at the indicators of these competencies themselves. Sorry, I said competencies. I meant competences because they are only a subset of competencies, but you can ask Professor Urs Hauenstein all about that later during the question and answer session. So the very first one is literacy, to be able to read and write. The second one is to be able to speak more than one language because we are encouraging active citizenship around the world. The third one goes without saying that you should have some basic numerical and scientific and engineering skills to be able to solve problems. And of course, as has been said by Dr. Hauenstein, we need to be able to use technology to our advantage. Well, we talked of EQ, and this is so important. Interpersonal skills and the ability to accept new ideas and paradigms, okay? And to also understand that you are not an island. You belong to a global community now. And also, we should find new and exciting ways of doing things and to come up with ways that will change the way things have been done in the past. And also, because you are an active citizen and you have good EQ, you should also be aware of culture and the differences and how we can express ourselves globally. So these are the 8 competences for lifelong learning as prescribed or adopted by the European Union. Now, I want you to compare this with the list that was generated by the World Economic Forum last year, which was partly shown by Dr. Hauenstein. Well, this is only the top 10. And you can see, if you compare this with the list of the EU's LLL competences, that a lot of them intersect. So this is nothing new. In a way, it is repeating the same thing again and again and again. And so what are we as educators doing? Are we listening? Are we paying attention? Are we doing anything with this? Okay, so now let me just tell you very quickly about the LLL concept at Warnborough. So for us, education is not for a piece of paper or for a title. It is for life. Okay. Okay, so for us, learning is about discovery. It's a discovery process, and it's more effective and powerful if the learner discovers for themselves what they are meant to be learning. So we're looking at tacit knowledge as opposed to just codified knowledge. So rather than me just giving you learning on a piece of paper and say, learn this, we want you to discover the more interesting aspects of knowledge for yourself, by yourself, okay? And we want you to learn through experience and discovering through that. And also the ability not just to know it in your head, but to be able to apply it to solve problems. So our vocational courses, for example, require you to have engagement with everything. The knowledge that we provide you, the materials that you work with, and the environment in which you are working, because nothing is a vacuum. You should not learn in a vacuum. You should learn in the flow. And we require you to practice what you learn and also to solve real world problems. And I think from the educator's perspective, we also need to have the right kind of assessment. How do we assess people to make sure they have got all of that? So our approach is to scaffold the learning process for our learners by actually, this is very important. We explain to them why they are learning this subject. It's not just, oh, you're learning accounting. Why are you learning accounting? Why are you learning engineering? What is the context? And what is your purpose for learning it? Okay, so it's the whys. And then we give them the knowledge so they can build up their expertise within this particular field of learning. And that is through giving them content. After that, we make sure they have the opportunity to go out into the field, to go and do laboratory work, to do work experience, to do research. And this is the discovery aspect, because we try and link this back to this. And then we say to them, okay, now that you know these few things, let's go out and practice. And this gives them confidence that they know their stuff and they can apply it in order to perform well. So this is our approach to learning at Warnborough College. And we also allow them to scaffold their learning in a different way. For example, we know that with many courses, the modules are prescribed. You can't change them, even if you have no interest or they don't relate directly to your career. So we allow you to choose modules and add them together to create a qualification, as long as they are interrelated to some way. So you can see this is our website, and we have different courses that are VET related and some in more academic areas. But basically, we allow people to select courses that they want, put them together and create their own qualifications. And for that reason, we do very well with companies, because companies like to tell their employees to improve in a particular area and within a particular way. So having the ability to build the courses and scaffold the learning is very, very useful. So you can see more if you want by going to our website, warnborough.online. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, Dr. Julian, thank you. Thank you. A very interesting presentation about scaffolding learning. It's a very new concept, I think, in Russia. So it's a good idea to develop. So thank you. We may go forward. So I'm collecting questions from our participants. Please write questions in the chat thread. And now I'd like to give the screen to Dr. Patriks Morevs from Latvia, University of Liepaja.
Oh, hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, do you hear me?
So, are you ready? So we hear you well.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
I mute my microphone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you, Vitaly, for giving me a word, and thanks for the previous two presenters, because Dr. Julian and Dr. Hauenstein, your presentations were very nice, and it is good that we started discussing lifelong learning, and like before it was said already, it really helps us adults develop, and self-development is also very important. And what I want to say, so I am representing Liepaja University, and our university is also, let's say, so very fond of lifelong learning, because we are located in a small city, and we experience also less student quantities, and we offer lifelong learning and study programs for even for adults, and our adults are quite active, and we have the special lifelong learning center. Moreover, we are in the last 5 years we have been quite active in capacity building projects, in strategic partnership projects, because we would like to also to promote our university from this point, in order to not only for students but for lifelong learning. Well, I have prepared some presentations and videos to show you, so maybe I will start from them. I will try to share my screen first, whether it works. Let me try. So yeah, it is going to work. Then I have to share. I think this will be. You now see my screen, and now you can see the YouTube. Do you see that? Yes. So you can write in the chat maybe. So also. I will try to start anew. Is it okay?
Liepaja. At first, it may seem as the most quiet and calmest place on earth. It's like music in your heart, wind in your hair, and sand everywhere else. Here, everything is in the reach of a hand, especially from Liepaja University. Art, technology, languages, business, education, environment. We give you the opportunity to take what you need. Liepaja University is a way to shape the world around you, to make the peaceful Liepaja your own. So let the city become your second home and discover the unknown through Liepaja University.
Well, this is one video, and I would like to show one more, also 1 minute long, so it's not really Okay. Okay, thank you for watching these videos. Yes, and also this was like a brief introduction into our university. As you maybe noticed, we have 4 different faculties, and also we have a center of lifelong learning in the university. Well, the thing is that we are a small country in Latvia. We are a small city. And for us, each student is important, and we treat all the students equal, regardless age, etc. So for us, each student is important. And we have faced recently such problem in Latvia that a lot of people have a kind of they require different skills in order to integrate in our society, and that's why in our country it's really necessary for several people to gain additional skills, additional knowledges, and that's why a lot of let's say so adult people, they have interest to raise their qualifications and to go to some courses, for instance, etc. And at the moment in our country, the situation is good with this because we have received European funding for raising skills and for adult people. And 22 million, I think, they are given to our country to spend in 5 years for training people. And we also, as university, are active participant in this program. So this program is called like improvement of adult skills, etc. And I myself also am a kind of a person who teaches adult people. I am good in computers and mathematics, so I'm a technical person, and I give courses in computer skills. So I recently had one group of 20 people. We were going through the computer skills, and people were very glad to have these courses. So, and such courses, there are many, and not only our university, but also other universities in Latvia, they participate actively in providing courses. So here you can see the web page of our Center of Lifelong Learning. Well, in Latvian, it's called Mūža izglītības nodaļa. That's why it is MIN at .liepu.lv. And here you can see the English version. English version is a little bit less informative, but you can see here that we have different courses, and one of the interesting things that was the Chinese courses in Liepaja University, because it's offered also for everyone who can study the Chinese. And we have also a special project, the strategical partnership project devoted to lifelong learning. And here you can see also the page about us. So here, this is like the organization of lifelong learning just began in 1994, so we already have quite an experience in this. And here are several people. There are like a team of our people who deal with this center and who write projects also there. And at the moment also we have just introduced some new courses, and now I'm working on introduction on a course which is called Mathematics for Everyone. So now we are in the process of accreditation for this, and so on. So we have also some projects in lifelong learning. So here we had here we have maybe I can show some gallery, because a very nice experience we got from when we trained adult for drawing. So there are some pictures how people were just involved in the studying process, and the people who didn't draw at all, so they were gaining this knowledge, and it was really good experience. So, and of course we have also other courses, not only in art but also in social sciences and exact sciences and so on. So And constantly we are trying to develop and introduce new courses. So now, as I said, so I'm working on the course mathematics, which will not be only in Latvian, but also in English. And also the pandemic caused some, how to say, problems with the work, and some of the adults just need to gain computer skills, because at the moment a lot of people work from home in our country, and also these courses which are required for appraising the computer skills, they are really popular in our country as well. Well, so this is a kind of, I will have a look into chat, because I have some questions, maybe. Yes. How can educational students from Africa partner your university for research, staff development, and student exchange? Well, answering this question, I would like to say that we can exchange our emails. I will write my email here, and you can send me just the email, and I will forward to the right position, because I am also the head of international department, so we can also speak directly with me about the cooperation. Yeah. So, and okay, so here there is also I see other emails. Yeah, and I will send also then. Okay, so here I will have to copy. And I see there are some other. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. One question from Institute of Pedagogy and Psychology: what can career along the digitalization pandemic are influencing upskilling and reskilling? Yeah, well, so if you speak about some problems with caused by pandemic, we have, because some people cannot use computer a lot in the society, and we can also reskill them. It will be much more convenient for them. And in the type of pedagogy and psychology, of course, now our schools also work remotely, and for children it is like a big problem to acquire knowledge remotely, and here we need to think about this. Yeah, and so we are thinking also how to do this, and our pedagogical institutes also are involved in the process of how to deal with it. Okay, so well, I think that I have answered all the questions.
Patrick, sorry.
Yeah.
Patrick, sorry. We collect questions, and after all your presentation, we will give you possibility to answer this question, because I think that all this question can be forwarded to
everyone.
All
yeah.
our
Okay.
panelists.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So after all your presentation. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So thank you, dear Patrick, for your presentation. And the next part of our discussion is presented by a video recorded by Dr. Eila Burns, Senior Lecturer, Teacher Education, JAMK University of Applied Sciences. I'll try to demonstrate my screen with this video that I received from my partner from Finland. Please watch the video.
Our experiment focused on video recorded microteaching activity. We wanted to explore student teachers' perspectives on how video recorded microteaching might influence on their development of professional expertise as a facilitator of learning. We wanted to offer a safe environment for our students to practice collaborative learning
Все хорошо.
Все хорошо. Посмотрите, похоже на начинало Morevs подход. Вот это вот уравнение агрессии.
This is the end of the video kindly sent to me, and I'm very glad to present you about the technology of microteaching by video tools. And the next video I'd like to show you, it is by Professor Frank de Jong from the Netherlands. One more video.
I'm Frank de Jong, professor at the Open University on responsive learning and knowledge creation. I'm also a professor at Aeres Applied University, and that's my subject also, knowledge construction and ecological thinking. I'm asked for this course to tell something about principle-based knowledge construction, and knowledge construction is for me related very strongly to knowledge building. I want to talk something about the process. It's good to know that this process is not grounded in accomplishing a learning task. This is one of the distinctions with collaborative learning. Collaborative learning is grounded in learning tasks and accomplishing these tasks, also cooperative learning. In 2010. In compliance with the dialogical approach, two key principles to knowledge building can already be mentioned. One, knowledge building starts with producing knowledge claims. And secondly, intersubjective stance taking is essential to develop new insight in response to these claims. Producing knowledge claims takes place when an individual brings in propositions on a relevant subject or asks questions or curiosity with the aim of being able to bring in new proposition. Concomitantly, community members engage in an intersubjective stance taking, according to Highland and Kakarainen in 2006 and Dubois in 2007. Following Dubois, intersubjective stance is viewed as a public dialogue act consisting of three simultaneously activities: evaluating knowledge claims, positioning of the self, and aligning with the others. It relies on the principle of multivocality, which implies acceptance of multifaceted character of the conversations, in which different voices can coexist in the conversation without necessarily becoming and reaching a consensus in it. Construction knowledge as a collaborative learning. However, such collective discourse process can be guided by principles as opposite of external structuring the process by scripts. It is actually the difference between treating students as learners and inquirers to treating them as members of a knowledge building community. This means that you see knowledge advancement as a community rather than an individual achievement. That knowledge advancement as idea improvement is rather be seen as a process toward true or warranted belief. That knowledge of, in contrast of knowledge about. It is discourse as a collaborative problem solving rather than as argumentation. It is constructive use of authoritative information, as I already mentioned, and it is understanding as emergent.
Now you see only my screen, only me. Am I right? Yes, yes. Okay. So the program of presentations of our prominent speakers has been completed. So I'm very grateful to all of them. Now it is the time of questions. I will read some questions, and I think that we may choose who will answer to these questions, or every our speaker can answer. So the first question was from Tatiana Zabelina. Usually people talk about lifelong learning in relation to those who have received a higher education. What about people who don't have it? What can we do to make life learning attractive and available for more people? Thanks a lot for an answer. So this is a rather common question. Dear panelists, who will answer to this question?
I'm happy to answer this.
Yes, Dr. Julian, thank you.
The very phrase lifelong learning means that it's about learning all throughout your life. So I think the first thing we need to address in society is to get this idea of education linked to qualifications out of your mind. Because it shouldn't just be about the piece of paper or a title or a qualification. It should be about learning. And then can you put that learning to use either for a practical purpose or for your own enjoyment? So we need to get out of this paradigm of qualifications and bring back the joy of learning. And maybe this is how you need to market it as well, not just come and study with us and get a piece of paper, but come and study with us to learn something that you enjoy or to gain skills which can help you. So it's really about the ends rather than the means.
Okay, Dr. Julian, thank you for your answer. I have my own questions. Because you told us about formal and informal education, and what is your opinion? What is the ratio between formal and informal education if you go to lifelong learning? Is it mostly informal or formal? What is the combination? What is the ratio? What is your opinion about this? If I'm young, just completed my education at the university, and I'd like to develop, what should I choose?
But why should learning have to be a ratio? Learning is, you should be like a sponge. You should be open to the world around you, and you should be able to just absorb information for whatever purpose. I mean, even just the gossip around the office, that is learning. You're learning something about somebody else that you didn't know before. And you don't have to get a qualification for that, but you still enjoy learning what that person did over the weekend. So, you know, it's how you view it in your mind. It's a paradigm shift. You need to see learning as just something that happens naturally. And if you get a piece of paper, that's fantastic. If you don't get a piece of paper, well, it's still useful and it still helps you in some way or other. So I don't see that sort of saying, oh, you have to split it 50% this and 10% that. It's whatever situation presents itself, you have a choice. Do it or not do it, or do it a little bit.
Okay, thank you for your honest answer. Okay, one more question from the Institute of Pedagogy, Psychology and Social Problems. I think it is Kazan. What are the career-oriented factors along with digitalization and pandemic are influencing upskilling and reskilling? Yes, I think this question refers to Professor Hauenstein more. Am I right?
Yes, I can, give an answer to this. I think I swatch a little bit that what I have presented. When you look to the settings of competences, and then the bigger settings, the competencies, who are sets of competences, then it is clear in a disruptive time, it is important to have possibilities to show that you have success, even if you have a problem. So before in my presentation, I had a big problem with my presentation. So it was needed to find a solution. So in my situation, the solution was to drive the laptop totally down and start all programs and everything again. Do the PowerPoint again, do the connection to Zoom again, and that needed time, of course. In parallel, I tried to connect with Julian and said him, please start with your presentation if I'm not able to come up. So yes, resilience, being strong in difficult situations, finding creative ways, new ways of solutions, being able to lead through projects, helping others and find problem solving, being critically. So all that and many more is important. And when you can show that in your portfolio to a career possibility, then of course you have this good chances. So everybody will be happy with you because you are a person who is autonomous, who can find solutions in crisis.
Okay.
Can I add to that?
It was a wonderful answer. And your opinion, Dr. Julian?
Yeah, I'll just have something quick to say. So in terms of career, if you're a teacher, for example, pedagogically, or if you're a manager, I think you also need to have to develop your emotional quotient skills, particularly in times of so much change and disruption, to understand the well-being of the people you work with as well, because you know we know the pandemic has caused an increase in mental well-being issues, mental health issues. So we need to be understanding, we need to adapt ourselves to adapt to other people's situations. So we need to be able to look at other people in terms of their paradigm. But also, a more common thing is we're now in the 21st century, and I would say that the millennials have a very, very different way of approaching learning and problems to us who were not born in the millennium, in the new millennium. And so people have different ways of learning now, and they also have shorter attention spans. They want to learn everything very quickly or, you know, immediately. So we have to understand that. And maybe the old ways of working with these people, of teaching these people, they just they're not effective anymore. And so are we sharp enough to see this ourselves in order to modify ourselves to be effective for the new generation? That's all I just want to say.
Okay, thank you, thank you. My question to Professor Urs, it's like as a moderator, I use my right to ask questions. So sorry, dear partner, but I think it will be interesting for everybody. I heard the time of disruptions will last even for a century. Dear Professor Urs, can you explain so pessimistic prediction?
I'm at the moment building up a new international management institute for the future. That means during times of disruption. I think we never ever will lose disruptions in the future. I think the virus will be our friend in the future, and we will have to be strong enough against it and live with the virus. And I think the digitization will be our partner as well. It will give us chances not to do that what is not for us or with less brain or doesn't make us happy enough. So I think we really has to look to that. I'm at the moment writing on a book with the title Disruptionology, a disruptionology. So to learn from disruptions and to give advice for chances and for possibilities to live with disruptions. And I really think, yes, of course, being out of the crisis, using the chance and getting strong. That is at the moment our commitment and our need for the future. And I think if we do that, we really will have the chance to redesign the world in another mode, to redesign a better world. And of course, the world is not bad, but world wasn't very good. So I think we have chances to do it better. And I think this is now the chance given to us that we can use this. Thanks.
Okay, Professor Hauenstein, thank you for your detailed answer. I have a question from Dr. Sirumo. How can educational institutions from Africa partner your university for research, staff development, and student staff exchange program? So I think it's for all panelists. I think each our speaker can answer.
Yeah. Well, I can answer also one possible. So as it regards cooperation with the institution, if we both are higher educational institutions, then first of all we need to set a kind of memorandum of understanding agree, so that we already define basic directions of cooperation. So we can see it could be student exchange, it could be research, it could be some kind of teacher exchange. This is very easy to do if we both come to agree that we want to cooperate. Then we just need to take the form of memorandum of understanding. We have such, for instance, I think each university has, and we can conclude. And then on the basis, so on this memorandum, we can exchange students, we can exchange, but of course we don't have any projects still. And then we are able to write some projects. Then we can write also international credit mobility projects, which now this year we cannot write them because we are changing the charter, all of the Erasmus things, and then the next year we can also write them. Then also, for example, we have some kind of joint programs with other universities. So we reconcile, for instance, IT master program in one university and another, and if the courses coincide more or less, then we can agree on joint program, and then the student can get a double diploma. So this is also a good opportunity, because 1 year he can spend or she can spend in one university, another in another university, and then we can agree how we agree on the marks, how we can pass the exams and the qualification papers. And then so we are now implementing this with one university in Russia and one university in India. So this is like we just only concluded this, and why not? So these are from my point. If you have other ideas, you can also share.
Dr. Patrick, do you have students from Africa?
Well, we have students from Africa. We have good students from Ghana. we have had a student from Ghana for bachelor programs and for master programs. One of them has already graduated, and now we have, and I see that the interest from African students now arises, and we exactly would like to cooperate in such case. And if you have a wish to send a student from Africa, welcome. Yes, so we are also. The only thing I can say that if you look into African countries, we don't have a good network of embassies in our embassies, because we are a small country. We can say we have embassy in Egypt, and we have some consulates in Africa in some countries. But for example, if you want to come to Latvia, then there could be some kind of expenses to go to Egypt for interview. Yes, so somehow like this, but it all is possible to do because we had the students, and but there could be some kind of ways we will find. Yeah, but still, my colleagues, they know they operate with student recruitment. They already, so now we have received students from Africa, and it is possible, but there could be some difficulties in contacting the embassies because they are indifferent.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Patrick, and it's time to close our session. Do you have anything to say more, our dear panelists? Urs, Patrick, Julian?
Only thank you very much for giving us this
already to close.
Only thank you very much for giving
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so, we are finalizing our panel discussion. Lastly, I wish to express my all appreciation to all my friends for their contribution to our panel discussion and invaluable help in its preparation and encouraging us in Russia to continue research and development in lifelong learning. So let me close our session and say goodbye to all of you. I'm very grateful to all our participants. Please continue cooperation. You know us, we know you, so we may produce new research, new exchange program, and so on. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.